let's bring the Pac-12 back. I mean, why?
I know it kind of sucks that it's gone after this year.
Sucks. That's it.
It was so
no
good
more.
This year.
It was such a good year. It was a fitting ending to a great season on the West Coast, and it's just crazy to think as we're watching that clock go down last night as Washington wins the football game. That's it for a conference, and who knows what the future is going to be of what merges with the Mountain West and all that. I mean, we'll discuss that in the offseason, but the Pac-12, as we know it, as a not dominant, but like one of the big Power 5 conferences it's it. No mas.
Yeah.
But it was a fun way to go out. Hell of a way to go out.
Again, the craziest part is they were a joke for years, and this is
yep.
by far the best they've been, the most serious they've been, and now they've put a legitimate contender into the playoff in the form of the undefeated Washington Huskies. And so, can I reiterate Aaron Murray? Fuck your eye test. You keep telling me somebody's better just because you think they are.
Yeah.
Just because even when the Huskies had beaten them in Eugene last year, and not you. This is a general you. This is not you specifically, right?
Yes.
But because it wasn't just you, it was every talking head. Even when they won in Eugene last year, won in Washington this year, everybody just kept saying Oregon's a better football team. Even as Washington went undefeated, battle-tested, all the things we talked about, Oregon had not been punched in the mouth. Now I want to get to that because I think Oregon responded pretty incredibly. There were these 3 massive phases of the game last night that I want to break down. But can we all finally fucking agree? Is 3 the magic number? Like, if you win away, you win home, and you win in Las Vegas, you are officially the better team.
You are officially the better team.
To the Washington Huskies.
T-Bob was correct on this one. Washington's the better football team. I give you that. That was three's the magic number. Three's the magic number. But I want to get to a point. I want to get to a point though. I want to get to a point. You brought up a good point, and I posted this. I think some other talking heads posted this last night too. This was a massive blow to the committee. This is a massive blow to the committee because the committee with Boo last week, which makes no sense because you look at the history of what the committee has done from what they did with Cincinnati a couple of years ago, who was not the most talented team to get in, but they're the most deserving team. TCU last year was the most deserving team. They ended up obviously beating Michigan. So like you never know what could happen on a neutral field head to head. But then they came out this week and said, we're going to put the best 4 teams in, which once again goes against what you've done the previous 2 seasons. You put the 4 most deserving teams in. So that was the whole argument this week of, are you going to put the 4 best teams in? Because if the 4 best teams in America probably comprise of, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, we thought Oregon or Texas would be that number 4. Well, last night debunked that of you have to put the most deserving teams in. So if Florida State wins tonight in Charlotte, could you say that Alabama or even Oregon or Ohio State would beat them on a neutral site? Yeah, you could say that.
Probably.
But you don't know.
But we don't
because
know.
You have to play the fucking game.
That's what I'm saying. That is why, look, most deserving is objective. It's based in accomplishment, okay? Best, we say it like it's fact, but it is subjective. Best at the end of the day until you play the game is subjective. And so this is not about like I was right because like I said, like I understood where everybody was coming from, right? Even and it's not like I knew how this game was going to play out, right? Like I thought certainly Kalen DeBoer's experience I thought Michael Penix battle-tested leadership would help, and that was on his plate. What I did not expect, and really this happened game 1, and so I probably should have, I did not expect that Washington O-line to just come out and set the fucking tone and then close out the game. I mean, the physicality of Washington, everybody acted all year, and I didn't read this correctly either, so I'm in here too. We all thought that Oregon was the more physical team. We were dead wrong. This Washington team physically up front won the game last night. So this is just to say that, like, I was already frustrated with the committee with Oregon because their resume was not as good as Texas, was not as good as Alabama's. And not even Ohio State for that matter. And they just, even though that's maybe a bit more arguable, and they just kept getting.
Well, the committee valued their close loss. That was it. They weren't
I know,
evaluated.
but then they didn't have the win. The committee just
Well,
valued eye tests.
they said that they said, at least this past weeks before, it was more frustrating. I was still frustrated that they were not, that they were ahead of Texas and Alabama, two teams that, if you go back to our show from the other night when we did the recap from from this past week's committee voting, they should not have been ahead. Like their resumes did not stack up with those two teams that were behind them. But the committee said we were impressed with how they beat Oregon State. We were impressed. Like that was their big win. They beat the crap out of Oregon State.
Yeah, them
and we're going to stick with that one. And it was a close loss to Washington. So,
okay. Well, another close loss.
Well, they're out now. We don't have to wait. Now we don't have to worry about the conversation of if you have a one-loss Pac-12 championship, Oregon, Texas, and
Let's
Alabama.
Get in the game because I don't want to get bogged down in playoff talk. Whatever, fuck it. Congratulations, Washington in the playoffs. Walter Modell, Penix has a Barrett 50 caliber for an arm, an effortless flick, and that ball is launched 80 yards of the vapor trail. I mean, he can fling it, but it's not again, Michael Penix was awesome, and his leadership and his ability to make clutch plays down the stretch are some of the core elements to why you won this game. But I have to give credit to a couple things. First off, I have to give credit to this Washington offensive line. Like we said, coming out, setting the tone. Hard running by Dylan Johnson, setting the tone. Immediately rocking Oregon with a couple of haymakers and big hooks early on. And that's what was so crazy. Washington came out firing. Oregon all of a sudden's got a bloody lip there in their back heel. And going into that halftime drive, you have got to credit Dan Lanning because he caught so much shit for his fourth down aggression after the first games. And we said, look, it didn't work. I don't hate the decisions, right? Like I get why he made them. He's trying to win. Well, in this game, 4th and 5, down 20-3, at the 50-yard line. And it like you have the ball with a chance to score before half and then score after half. And if you don't, it's kind of feel like maybe it's over. He goes for it on 4th and 5. Let me make sure I have the entire sequence. Okay, they go for it on 4th and 5 and 50. They get that. First off, big balls to do that after all the criticism last game. Then they get a 3rd and 9. Then they get a 3rd and 2. And then they get a 4th and goal with 9 seconds left to score before half. And then they come out of half and they fucking score again, dude. I mean, that was, I thought Oregon might fold because they had not been punched in that manner. Not only did they not fold, they come roaring back. You have the back-to-back picks. Eventually the crazy scramble by Nix, and all of a sudden Oregon responds, and they are the ones winning the game 24-20. So this is not all about cheating on Oregon, because when I thought they would fold, they did not. And I thought this was a very well-coached football game last night between a young up-and-comer and Dan Lanning and just a salty old veteran in Kalen DeBoer.
Well, it was a great game. Like both teams played really, really well. Obviously, there was a couple mistakes here or there. I was most impressed with what you talked about. Yes, the running game for Washington. Like they were the more physical team up front on both sides of the football for the majority of the game. But I was impressed with their DBs, and it's a little bit of impressed with their DBs, but also, this is what we've seen from Oregon all year. So you kind of understand why they were playing that aggressive. Like their DBs put their heels in the ground at 10 yards, and they were just coming downhill. Like it was just like, Oregon, take a shot. And Oregon did. I was rewatching it this morning, and just so I can see the full, the full all 22, not just kind of what the TV broadcast shows you. And they tried a couple double moves, and those safeties were physical, and those corners were physical. Like when that guy would put his weight down to kind of get that guy to bite, they bit a little bit because they were ready to drive downhill, but they also got physical at the top of routes. And sometimes you could maybe call penalty if you're one of those back officials. They didn't for the majority of the time, but they were physical, man. They wanted to get up into the grill those receivers. They really didn't give a lot of space on any of those throws from being 0 to 10 yards.
Were they bad throws, or was it good coverage? The deep
I thought it was
balls
good coverage. I literally thought it was good coverage. Like there was not a lot of room for Bo Nix to throw the football past 15 yards for the majority of the night. Like he had the one. I'm trying to think of like all the plays he completed down the field. He had the one wheel route to the running back on the left side.
The wheel route was the longest one that I can remember.
The longest one. Other than that, like those DBs were freaking tenacious the entire football game. Like I was really impressed with how those guys played on the back end. But I mean, it does go to what does Oregon do? We said it all year long, and people were all upset because you and I talk about, why does Jaden deserve it more than Bo Nix? Well, because he doesn't push the ball down the field. It's a dink and dunk. There's a reason why he's 78% completion. And Washington said, you know what? If we're going to lose this game, we ain't going to lose it getting dink and dunked. We're going to lose it. You better hit some shots down the field, and they couldn't do that.
Yeah, and again, while we're highlighting the secondary, the physicality of the secondary impressed me. Like you said, heels at the 10, but then they were coming up and they were hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to mention this as well. More credit to Lanning in that tough moment. He had the excellent clock management too, even before the 4th down decision, where he called the 2 timeouts to get Washington off the field. They hold him to a field goal, massive moment there. So it's only 20-3. He saves a timeout for offense. Like, it really was just a masterclass in dealing with getting fucking rocked early on. Like, they could have folded. They come all the way back. The back-to-back picks was very funny. Then Washington fails their 4th down attempt, remember? And that's when Oregon goes and scores, and it's 24-20. And so all of a sudden now you're thinking, well, I mean, everything's shifted. Everything's changed. At this point, they were starting to get pressure on Penix. Dan Lanning was talking about pitching to Penix. Like he was, some sort of great power hitter, and he's just got to keep trying to mix things up and throw him some looks he's not ready for, and maybe he can keep getting back there. And it was at this moment when Kalen DeBoer and the Huskies said, you know what? We got to fucking run it. Like we lost our way in the 3rd quarter a little bit. How did we get out to this lead? Setting the tone run. We got to run it. They come out 10 plays, 75 yards, just a physical answer to suddenly make it 27-24. Big stop by the defense. And then what was the next drive after the 10 for 75? I'm about to look it up because there were 3 drives in a row, the 10 for 75, the next touchdown drive, and then getting the ball back again after Oregon does the insane somehow score in 30 seconds.
Well, that's when they ran and then had the 5-yard pass to the sideline for the first down, where it's 3rd down, you have a timeout, and I thought it was the right decision. Like, even if you don't get it.
Oh, hell yeah. Go win the game.
You have to win the game at that point. And it kind of, I was waiting for you to say something in the chat of, is this similar to, let's go back to the Oregon, the first time these two match up, flipped it to the other side. Oregon's winning.
Oh,
it's a 3rd and short situation. And Oregon throws a pass, incompletion, and then, punts the ball. And then Washington goes, that was the 4th down. That was the 4th down. Sorry. So a little bit different.
But that's
still
what I'm
mentality.
Talking. They going for it to end the game. And that is,
but they would not have gone for it on 4th down though. If they didn't get that, they would have punted it. So that's the difference. Like, I don't think if they didn't complete that pass, they'd been like, oh my God, 2 minutes ago, Bo just scored on one play the previous play. We need to go for it on 4th down because we can't give the ball back to Oregon. Like, I do think they would have punted it.
What if it's 4th and 1?
No, it was.
No. I'm saying, what if he gets tackled and it's like 4th and 1? I don't know.
I think that's a different decision. But I do like the fact that they threw the football because that one timeout doesn't matter.
You go for the win. The timeout does not mean as much as holding on to the ball and winning the game. And you have Michael Penix Jr., who again is not just great, but has big balls. Like he's that's what we talk about when being battle tested. You build up calluses. Why do MMA fighters and boxers get cauliflower ear? Because they're getting fucking hit all the time. And that's how your body responds. When you're in these fights throughout a year, you don't get scared of the moment. And I'm not saying that Oregon were scared, but they are inexperienced in that regard. Whereas Washington's been in these battles and helped them pull it out in the end.
I'll say this about Washington real quick too, T.
Yeah.
They are not TCU. For those who want to compare them to TCU from last year, they are far superior. They are good enough. They got NFL guys on that football team, and a lot of them on offense. I think if they can play with that tenacity up front on both lines of scrimmage, 100% they got a chance to win the whole damn thing. Like, I was shocked last night watching that game that they ended up being the more physical team.
Okay, so here it is. After Oregon roars back 24-20, this is how you close I got goosebumps. This is how you close a game of football by just beating the shit out of your opponent. They go 10 for 75, 4 minutes, 28 seconds off the clock, 12 for 82, 6 minutes, 20 seconds off the clock. Then, with a chance to end it, they get that holding call after the big 3rd down conversion. and they fucking still run for a first down after 1st and 20. Don't give the ball back. No drama. 4-minute offense. Go home. That is a beautiful way to win a championship if you love the game of football. There is a toughness and a physicality there that Kalen DeBoer can champion and celebrate his team with.
Well, and this wasn't like some traditional Pac-12 game either, which is which we've seen from this conference most at times with the good teams this year. Like, how did Utah win championships for the past 2 years in the conference? Like, they've been the physical football team. They've been able to win the line of scrimmage. Oregon is kind of trying to build that through Dan Lanning this year of, hey, I'm going to build a team like I was, like Kirby did at Georgia, like Saban did at Alabama. Like, I'm going to build a physical team that's going to kind of punk teams in this conference. And plus, I'm going to get the quarterback and some skill guys that's going to be, a little bit more of a complete football team compared to Utah. Well, Washington was viewed as just this elite passing football team. You have Penix, you got, the 3 elite receivers. We're just going to outscore you. You put this team on turf in a dome, and good luck trying to catch us. It's like the damn Rams back in the day. And then they throw in the component of, being able to win up front at the line of scrimmage on top of that. And you're like, man, like that was shocking.
Their left tackle's the beast.
The Pac-12 was good this year. Yeah. Pac-12's been like that a little bit more this year.
Well, and somebody who was in the chat here that said Jacob Rose, Washington won, do the better coaching staff. I don't think I agree. I think Dan Lanning and his staff did an awesome job.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that Washington is just better. They're just a little better. And Kalen DeBoer is awesome too. And Ryan Grubb, the OC, I thought called a really good game for the Washington.
The big difference is Washington hit explosive plays down the field. Oregon couldn't.
So that is the thing. As much as we are making this about the physicality in the running game, that's why Washington takes the next level to be actually dangerous to anyone, is because all that sets up is, oh my God, we have McMillan and Polkin, freaking Odunze out there, and Michael Penix hitting in these windows.
An angle route to the 3-yard line. Penix hitting a deep cross off his back foot for another 40-yard gain. Like, those are the different, like, in big time football games where there is a physicality component to it, which team can then all of a sudden pop up a couple of explosive plays down the field to eat up, 40, 50 yards. And Oregon just, besides the wheel route and then Bo Nix running down the sideline the one time, it was, 5 yards in a cloud of dust for most of the game. And that's just ain't going to get it done.
Yeah, well, until that last second touchdown, they found a little
and then the last second touchdown
as well. Yep. But Penix's ability to throw accurately while fading away 50 yards down the field. Any other quarterback does that, you're getting benched. No, I know that because it should. Because normally that's a pick, and the coach is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But he's just incredible at it, dude. It's crazy. RC Bateman says 12 team, Oregon's still in. Yeah, that's fine though. That's good. Who cares? Like,
we don't want to go RG3. We don't want to do RG3. Both teams should be in according to RG3.
Okay, so Washington was awesome. Congratulations. And bad loss for the eye test and vindication for a Huskies team that, despite beating Oregon in back-to-back years, it was just told, nah, you're not as good as them. Like, what? And it became very clear from the beginning that DeBoer was feeding that to them, What is this too, where they do like the DBs do the VAR celebration, thumbs down? Is that a soccer thing? Or are they doing like I don't know. I like it though. And then they do the seatbelt. Seatbelt's not as tight. I thought the seatbelt was like them like sheathing a sword, like not on me. But like so I thought. But then I learned there's a seatbelt. That's not as tight.